Welcome back to Echo Ridge and another episode here in our Timberborn series. We have just entered cycle 6 in absolute stellar fashion. We've already managed to replant all of our dying crops since our reservoir did not last as long as we'd wanted. More importantly though, we now have access to the observatory, where we have 4 beavers churning out 10 science every 3/4 of an hour. It also leaves us with quite a bit left on this power network, which is good because it's going to allow us to expand our entire industry setup to over here. We're going to have our agricultural area over here, and everything else is going to be built over here. I would like to make it as efficient as possible. I'm thinking we might be able to get away with 2 rows here. I'm not 100% sure yet because I don't know exactly how big all of the buildings in the game are. But I figured this is going to be good as it'll leave us 1 tile in the back there. In fact, I will probably flip it so the buildings are here and then all the storages are here because I do know how big the storages are. To start off with, we are going to be unlocking our underground piles. Now, this is 1,000 beautiful science, but we don't have a science problem anymore. And that way, I knew exactly how much space I have. So we will put the underground pile of regular logs right here. I will extend this down. Beautiful. Now I know it's not great that they're going to be bringing all the logs from our lumber industry up to this point, but remember, we have dedicated haulers. The only thing they want to do in life is pick up logs and roll them around. Now the construction of these is not going to be quick because they each require 20 logs, 40 planks, and 20 gears, but this is getting us where we need to go. The next one's going to be, you guessed it, planks. Oh, wait a minute. I've just messed something up. I gotta bring that power shaft all the way down here. How am I gonna do that if the underground pile is in the way? Okay, fear not. Fear not. We're just gonna move it just for a second. All right, we can come off of here, and then we'll have a couple of tiles worth of space to be able to work with. And I do suppose there's more than one way to do this. For instance, instead of me building stairs to walk over the shafts and then a platform in the middle, I could have just used vertical power and gone up and over, sort of like this. But I think this setup here is going to look super clean, and while it may not be 100% worth it for just another 200 horsepower, that'll be 200 horsepower we don't have to worry about in the future. Now I can go back to building my storage piles. I don't know if I want to butt up against the power shaft like that, so I'm going to go right next to it. Here are my logs. Here are my planks. I suppose we'll start with a medium warehouse of gears, because I'll always be able to put a large warehouse in its place if we ever want to. And now it's all about rebuilding our lumber industry, starting with a pair of lumber mills to get planks. And I'm going to go with a single gear workshop. And since I'm here and we have the labor, I'm going to go ahead and unlock the paper mill. Put a paper mill right next to it, which is of course going to need some more storage. There's our paper. And I guess I want to start making my sparkly planks here too, which is just 1 plank and some resin. So I will be putting that in here, and which that's going to require another large pile, this time of sparkly wood. 1 extension of the power shaft. And now I've queued up more building than these beavers are going to be able to do in a very long time. And one thing I don't love about this is for our sparkly wood, aka the treated planks, they're going to have to drop off the pine resin. Right now, our pine resin is being stored right here. I suppose, though, we do have the haulers, and this wood workshop is going to be able to hold a certain amount of pine resin. We'll see how it works. If not, we'll move some stuff around. I'm also going to tell our existing storage buildings of the large pile to force to empty, because all of this is going to get recaptured. We're going to force to empty all the gears. And I suppose the resin's going to stay. One mistake I had made, I was wondering why they weren't starting to transfer the logs, is because I didn't actually put the path on top of the platform. But now that I have, look at the army of beavers. Everything else should now follow in kind. I think I've also decided to move the paper mill and prioritize the treated lumber. Not for a great reason. It just seems like there's a lot more uses for the treated lumber than there are for the paper, at least at this point. You know what? Now that I'm sitting here, I should probably put in the 3 lumber mills. Planks always seem to go down first. I can always keep 1 paused for the future I definitely don't want to overdo this construction, but this is our long-term, non-temporary industry area. By the way, you might be wondering, how are we going to do this with so little power? Well, the biggest thing for power requirement is the wood workshop at 250 horsepower. We're going to see what kind of productivity we get because we have 200 horsepower to spare. But there was a reason why I left all of this space here open. And that's because I knew we would end up supplementing our power with a combination of either wind turbines or water wheels. I think we'll start with wind turbines for now. And so that I don't have to go over the path again, I'm just going to plug right into the back of this building, which will connect them, which when I highlight over, you can see it'll all be a part of the same power network. And if I want in the future, I can just add more. Over on the old industrial road, the log large pile is empty, so we are going to deconstruct it. I have put the first lumber mill on a higher priority. I'm going to do the same with the second, because I need to get the planks back up so that they will be able to continue building the rest of these buildings. And once that happens, I'll be able to deconstruct these lumber mills, this gear workshop, and then we're going to turn this into a whole bunch more agriculture. You may have noticed from the beginning of this episode, we went from 15 and we're down to 1,400 food. So I think we are running a deficit right now. I've also just made a change to our forestry. You may notice we've only got 9 grilled chestnuts. The reason why is because the chestnuts don't actually start producing until the tree is fully grown. So in this example, this tree is 100% done and ready to be chopped down, even though it's only 11% completed to getting its chestnuts. So what I have done is removed the cutting area for pine trees, chestnut trees, and the maple trees. We will not be getting any lumber from them, only from the birch and the oak. That way we get all the chestnuts we want, all the maple syrup, and the pine resin. Now, whether or not this is going to be enough, I do not know. We may have to expand our lumber industry a little bit more. Man, this would be a good spot to do that, wouldn't it? Having the lumber all over here, especially considering it's so close to industry. And then I could turn this entire area here into agriculture. Not sure. Baby steps. On our long-term goals, remember, we're going to have to start collecting some of this badwater. You might wonder why. For us, and our most immediate need, it's used in the explosive factory. But there are plenty of other applications further along in the game. We don't have to store a lot of it, but we do need to store it, which means we'll be grabbing a badwater pump and another tank. Unfortunately, the badwater pump does require metal blocks, which means we have to salvage scrap metal from sites like this and then smelt it. Metal has its own category down here. And while I will place it, I'm going to place it at a low priority. Oh, wow, this thing is chunky. But like I said, we're going to put it at low priority because it does take the scrap metal, which means I need to get a scavenger flag and start collecting scrap metal. And I just really like this location here. So I think we're going to spend a little bit of time building our way across. There is a nice natural overhang here. Unfortunately, it goes nowhere. But I can put some stairs here. I can put some stairs here. And then all of a sudden, we now have access to this area. I'm going to move the scavenger flag to make it more of a direct route. We'll say something like that. And then we just have to put some stairs in, followed by a platform, followed by another set of stairs. Kind of surprising they didn't make a double stairs pattern like they have the double platforms. And after we get done with that, we're then going to have access to the smelter, which means we will need some storage for some metal blocks. The great thing about this is the fact that it is completely separate from the lumber industry. And what I mean by that is, well, all of our planks require logs. All of our gears require planks. All of our treated wood requires planks and resin. Whereas the metal, just completely separate. Oh, look at this. This gear workshop is done. So I can finally remove this gear workshop, which also means we don't have any more requirement for power over here. We'll probably keep these water wheels for just in case purposes, and they will kind of look cool. And you know what? Since we're over here now, what I'd rather do is set up a much larger storage area for our pine resin. And while we're at it, let's also get a medium tank for all of our syrup. Lots of industry growth today. Lots of industry growth. We are definitely hurting on logs though right now. We only have 5 logs in our system. Granted, there's plenty sitting around here though. think, though, since we're going to need more of those logs, I'm going to throw some birch in. Oddly enough, we are back up to 1,600 food, so I don't know what the ebb and flow is. It could be when either the carrots are coming in or the potatoes, but we do seem to be gaining in food. And you may say, well, it's probably the chestnuts. Well, we haven't been doing so well with the chestnuts. Will you look at this? We have our first 2 treated planks. I'm also going to need a name of this road right here that our industry is sitting on, so let me know in the comments below. Right now, the only other named piece of this colony is the Komorowski Dam. So get creative, and I'll pick out the favorite, and that's who we'll name this road after. We have a lot of our buildings in, and you can see the power demand on this network is 720 horsepower, which is, well, not even close to what we have. We're only producing 400. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use our assign priority tool and raise the priority on all these windmills. That way we can get the additional power we need, because right now the whole industry is hurting. First, because it's pretty new, but second, because we just unlocked some very large storages. So they're going to keep making planks until they have 1,000 planks. Well, they can't do that because they're taking those planks and making gears. So it's going to wait until we have 200 gears. Last time we had made it all the way to day 21, I believe, before our drought came. This time it's going to be on day 14. I'm starting to get a little nervous that we're not going to make it in time for our before we start getting some bad tides. It won't be such a big deal. We have plenty of food and water in stock, and the bad tide will go away, allowing us to recover, but I kind of wanted to get our canal in place before we saw it. I understand our haulers are busy right now, but we have plenty of haulers, and I have a bunch of logs and planks all sitting here waiting to go into the network. But what's happening is all the lumberjack flags are dropping off logs, and then a hauler comes and gets one. So once again, I need to use our priority tool, which will raise the gathering priority off of all these logs and planks. Another small change I'm doing just to optimize the amount of space that we're using for agriculture is moving all of these berry bushes across the street. It's going to require a temporary forester, but once that's in place, I'll then be able to recapture all of this area and plant something else. I've also began the process of moving our contemplation spots, which those are eventually going to get moved, because as soon as I have a top level, I think that's where we're going to put the rooftop terrace, but we'll see. I'm not too worried about it because, once again, we haven't really touched berries in a long time, and we still have a berry patch over here as well. Once we get caught up on all the drains of our lumber system, I'm probably going to add yet another berry storage here, because right now the berries are just going to waste. The drought's here, and it's a monster at 9 days. This one's going to be cutting it a little close. I think we're going to take some of that hard-earned science and start unlocking more of these things, like the large tank, which is going to require 30 metal blocks, so we're not quite there yet, but also the large water pump, which will only take 10 treated planks. Combine the large tanks with the large water pumps, we should be a lot better off. But as it stands, we only have enough water in this reservoir for probably 5 days. Elsewhere on the great news front is we are almost done with this path over to these metal ruins. But since we're also sitting with 7 unemployed beavers, I think we're also going to mark all of these trees as please cut. And I'll throw a couple of lumberjack flags right there. Our power network is doing a lot better thanks to the completion of the wind turbines. While we do have a demand of 800, we're supplying 736. So I guess that does mean another windmill would help. Here goes another 20 planks. I'm going to end up moving these grills up to this platform here. This land here cannot be worked. I'm also going to throw down a third one for grilled spatterdock. Do I know what spatterdock is? Nope. Not even close. So this will be our spatterdock section, and I think this is going to be wheat. And I realize I probably shouldn't have deconstructed that so soon, but it'll be okay. Let me just put these on higher priority. Eventually, we're going to have access to the bakery so that we can make some of those sweet cinnamon rolls. In fact, that's actually going to be relatively soon because we are ready to plant a bunch of wheat. Now, is this going to be enough wheat? I don't know, but we're sure going to try. I'm leaving a little bit of space here for our large water tanks. I think I'm going to plant some more pines right here. Yeah, I may have queued up too much at once. It's a thing, it happens. Over here across the river, we have started grabbing that scrap metal. Lily Sap is doing a great job, although, to be honest, Lily Sap should probably work at the tapper's shack, which means our smelter's about to come online. our paper mill is online, except I don't have a requirement for paper yet. So I'm going to pause it. Not just for the beaver labor, but also for the power. The smelter itself takes 200 horsepower. But believe it or not, until you get into some of the more advanced industries like bot parts, the only thing we have left is the printing press, which will give us access to books and punch cards. But we're not about that life. This industry road here is going to be servicing us for quite some time. But now that I have metal blocks coming in, it's time to figure out where I'm going to put that badwater pump. Just past the 4-day mark and we are out of water. So our crops are slowly starting to wither and die. No big deal. We are prepared for this. We're up to 1,800 food and 738 water. Now during a drought, your badwater also is droughted, at least from the natural occurring spots, but this place is rather deep, which to me says it's a perfect place for a badwater pump. Unfortunately, it is way over here, but how often are we really going to use the badwater? We also have a couple sources over here up in the mountains, and it flows down this way, so this wouldn't be a bad spot either. In fact, it might be a little bit closer. Unfortunately, the closest place that I can actually put it is probably right here, which might not be too bad. So why don't we queue up some more stairs, grab a couple of paths. We'll mark all these trees as please cut them down. And once those are gone, we'll be able to put our badwater pump and the badwater storage. And it's not too far away either. Doesn't that about figure? Look at the wind just not moving at all. I wish there was a wind overlay or some sort of information. I know I've said that before, but this is ridiculous. As such, we only have 400 power on the network that is requiring 720, so our production is slowed down quite a bit. Eventually, it's not going to be too big of a deal, because we're going to have some sweet, sweet gravity batteries. In fact, we can unlock those now. No, I'll wait, because I need those 10 metal blocks for the badwater pump over here. Oh, look, the power decided to turn back on, and everybody's going home for bed. Last day of the drought, not too shabby. We're down to 455 water. And 1,500 food. More importantly, on the food front though, we didn't even touch our long-term berry storage. Here comes cycle 7, and the water's starting to flow again. Although annoyingly, the wind isn't. And Jerry did a great job removing all this dead wood, so I can clear it and deconstruct the lumberjack flag. And I will put the badwater pump, I think I'm going to put the badwater pump right here. And that should give me enough space. Yes. For a nice badwater storage right there. That doesn't look too shabby. All the bushes here have been finally removed. Speaking of which, you can go work. And since this area is in range of this efficient farmhouse, well, almost all of it. Whereas I thought we were going to be planting some spatterdock, it requires an aquatic farmhouse, and the spatterdock itself has to be submerged. I don't have an aquatic farmhouse. That's right here. I don't think we're going to get into that whole mess. So more wheat it is, which also means that we're going to be able to make some pastries. Well, once we get 10 more gears, and we are really behind on gears. Maple pastries it is. Of course, we could also do bread. They apparently like both of them. So maybe I put another baker down over here somewhere. There we go. I had to move the efficient farmhouse. And on top of needing a bakery, we also apparently needed a grist mill to turn all the wheat into flour. All said and done, this is going to cost me another 30 gears, plus for the bakery over here, 40 gears, and we have 1. So it's going to take a little while. But our new industry is hard at work. We're also salvaging the metal, turning it into metal blocks. We're clearing out this forest area. We're going to turn all of this into a nice forestry zone. And that way we can keep planting regular crops here. We are also waiting for the completion of our badwater pump and badwater storage. Needless to say though, we are on the precipice. Next episode, I think we're going to be getting into explosives and starting to reroute some water. I hope you enjoyed this episode and are still enjoying this series. I'm looking forward to reading everything you have to say in the comments below. And until next time, much love, happy gaming, and I'll talk to you soon.